TNCRadio.LIVE, your commercial driver navigation station.
Good afternoon. Welcome to TNCRadio.LIVE. This is the Truckers Network Radio Show. And now here's your host, Shelley Johnson.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Yes, this is the Truckers Network Radio Show on TNCRadio.LIVE, where we offer the entertainment, sports, weather, traffic, news, and information that our commercial drivers want to hear. Rear-end collisions are all too common and something our professional drivers are well aware of because of drivers following too closely, not staying in their safe zone, let alone their own lane. Safety is of utmost importance, along with the reaction time when our drivers are out driving. With us today is Roland Hence. He's the founder of FrontLane, a technology company that's designed several collision detection devices for both passenger and commercial vehicles. Hello, Roland. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Shelley. Great to be here.
I'm looking forward to talking about your technology. I was wondering if you could maybe give our driver listeners a walkthrough on who you are and what FrontLane does. Your technology is really unique.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. My name is Roland Hence. I'm the founder of FrontLane and the inventor of our original product for passenger vehicles called Impulse. It started from a very simple concept. I love driving. I love road tripping, being on the road. But what I never loved was the idea that if a driver behind me is not paying attention, that puts me in danger. So it doesn't really matter in that sense how I drive for what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And so I would outfit my vehicle with whatever safety technologies I felt were most appropriate. However, there's nothing that I could do to stop that driver behind me from hitting me. So I thought about those times when I would slam on the brakes, my eyes would go straight to my rearview mirror to see if the driver behind me, if they were going to stop too.
Yep.
So rather than just, it's a feeling that I think a lot of drivers are very used to at this point, especially with how many folks are distracted on the roads these days. Everyone's looking down at their phone. Well, that's tough whenever you need to stop quickly or stop in a place they didn't expect you to. So built a very simple solution. It's an ultra bright light that pulses when you brake hard, the time you're most likely to be rear-ended. And so for passenger vehicles, this was perfect. Completely wire-free, battery-powered, just stick it to your back window. It's that simple. There's no Bluetooth, no wireless signals at all. It simply can sense when you're braking based on a built-in motion sensor. So essentially, you can stick on this safety technology that's being promoted by NHTSA in terms of the functionality of this technology and by Mercedes and BMW. But now it's just completely stick-on, so it's a great retrofit. The challenge was that this technology had to be wired in, it was difficult to install, or it wasn't smart. Now it can be completely stuck on. And so when we brought this to the trade shows, we ended up winning the SEMA Launchpad competition, which was a new product competition, and that was fantastic. But one of the first responses we got was a fleet came up to us and said, hey, we need this for our vehicles. And that's when we realized this is something that could do so much for folks that are on the road all day, that face distracted drivers all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's where we built out the team and we said, hey, this is something that we could apply for this industry that hasn't been seen before in that way. And so now we built a bigger version called Tailbone. And it's called Tailbone because it goes on the back of a trailer and literally protects your vehicle's rear end. So it's an ultra bright pulsing light. It's very smart. It figures out how you're braking, and so it determines when it needs to activate. So it's not only when you brake hard, it's also when you go from 50 miles an hour to stop and go traffic. Well, that driver behind you might still be going 50 miles an hour. So what this does is it senses the danger and pulses to get the attention of the driver behind. And now we're continuing to expand and building some really cool future products. So I'm excited to be on here and chat a little bit about what we're working on. And like always, learn from the industry and see what we can do to help.
Well, I think your technology is just awesome. And tailgating is one of my biggest beefs. It's that's exactly what I do. If I have to put on my brakes, if I know that I'm going to be stopping and I can see that the person's following too closely behind me, I start tapping my brakes to try to get their attention. You can kind of tell sometimes the people behind you based on how they're driving, whether they're on their cell, they slow down. And then when they're not on their cell, all of a sudden they're trying to ride your trunk, which it's just I think it's gotten so much worse in the past 10 to 15 years. It's like, quit doing that. There's no safe zone there. You have to have a certain amount of distance to stop.
Yeah, from down here in Houston, where are you located, Roland?
New York.
New York. So down here in Houston, you almost have to have a pickup truck. That's kind of like the rule. I don't have one. I drive a Camaro, and my Camaro can stop on a dime. And that big old pickup truck, that 250, 350, that monster that's sitting right behind me and trying to shove me out of the way, I'm scared of him because I know I can stop in time for whatever it is that I need, but I know that I can stop a lot shorter than a heavier truck, that's right behind me. And that's kind of a common way of driving down here is, these pickup trucks get right up on the driver in front of them and try to push them off to the side, and they scare me. Honestly, and when I'm driving rideshare, which I've done about 1,000 rides there, you feel very responsible for the people in your car. And,
sure.
When you got somebody who's tailgating you, and you got a customer in your car, you don't exactly want to, roll down the window and flick them off or something like that. Instead, you're trying to get them to back off nicely, but, I'm always afraid of what's going to happen. We talk about tail end accidents. We must have those, hundreds of them in the Houston area every day. It's just a common thing down here. So all of that to say, congratulations on a great product. I think this is wonderful. We should probably describe it a little bit more for the drivers who are going down the road and can't really picture it right now in their minds. How would you describe it, Roland?
Yeah, when I think about the traffic in New York City, every bridge has a sign that says, "Watch for hard braking," and there'll be a picture of a rear-end crash, and there are these yellow signs, custom made, and unfortunately I think they're becoming more and more common. It sounds like Houston might need a few of those warning signs too pretty soon. And so to get to your question, the product is about 12 inches long, about 4 inches wide, and it's extremely ruggedized, very, very thick, impact resistant, waterproof, IP67. It has a replaceable battery and very powerful 3M adhesive. So it's non-damaging, but it's also not coming off a vehicle unless you deliberately take it off. And all you have to do is stick it to the back of the vehicle, turn it on, and then press and hold the calibrate button, and it learns your vehicle from that moment forward, understands how it moves and how it works. So there's no tracking in this device. This is a device that's connected to the internet. This is a device where all the software is just inside. You put it on your vehicle, you basically click start, and from that moment, it starts to learn and understand the driving patterns and understand how long your vehicle will take to stop and what's considered dangerous. And then when it senses that there is danger, when you're braking in such a way that the driver behind, it might be completely safe for your vehicle, but if the driver behind isn't reacting fast enough, that's where it pulses to get their attention.
Interesting. Now, does it adjust to different drivers? Because quite often commercial drivers will have a co-driver. Or is that even relevant? It just adjusts to the vehicle?
Yes, you got it. Yeah, some folks will be in stop and go traffic and they'll be hitting the brakes frequently. And one of the challenges that we saw, especially in the commercial space, tractors and trailers might be swapping left and right. When that happens, if there's a different driver profile, well, sometimes you can make your brake lights pulse all the time. The only challenge is the driver behind you will eventually start to tune them out. It'll become normalized. It won't be that attention getting for them. So where the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they saw the most power in this type of technology is to be able to get attention when it's needed most. And
Yes.
so this is how we predict when a person's most likely to be rear-ended and then activate at that specific time. So for different drivers, that means different levels of responsiveness. And so it very quickly learns how different drivers are driving. And then once it picks up on the pattern, it can even be within one shift. You see a driver is braking very gently, but then into an urban environment, they're braking more frequently. It'll actually change its sensitivity. So that way it activates when it thinks you're going to be rear-ended during that environment.
Excellent. We have about a minute before we go to break. I had a question, and you probably have that stat. Are there more tailgaters today than, say, 20 years ago?
Oh, yes, especially with the impact of distracted driving from mostly cell phones and the other technology. Unfortunately, there are so many rear-end collisions today that simply happen because the driver behind is not paying attention. They're glancing up and down at the vehicle in front of them, but fortunately, we've seen that automatic emergency braking can help for the driver behind if they have it, because those folks are just so distracted on their phones all the time, but most of them don't have it. And so that leaves a vehicle that's driving completely safely vulnerable, and there's nothing worse than getting into a crash, especially when it turns out that it's completely preventable because somebody wasn't paying attention.
Well, and it's absolutely scary because you have to drive the vehicle behind you. You know, you're looking and then you're driving and then you're looking in the rearview mirror, and it's not a workable situation, and too many people do it. So I love your technology. We have to go to break here. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.LIVE. We're talking with Roland Hence. He's the founder of FrontLane. It's a great technology. We're going to talk to him more with more questions. So stay tuned right here on TNCRadio.LIVE.
This blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 6 safety tips for truck drivers while driving in the rain. As a truck driver, you'll experience driving in dangerous weather conditions. Driving in the rain creates difficult and dangerous driving conditions for truckers. It's important for truck drivers to be alert and cautious when driving in the rain. Check out our 6 safety tips for truck drivers while driving in the rain. Slow down. Wet roads make it difficult for a driver to control their truck. A good rule of thumb is to drive 5 miles per hour below the speed limit. In some cases, you might have to drive more than 5 miles an hour below. Professional truck drivers adjust their speed according to the weather. When driving in dangerous conditions, only drive the speed you're comfortable with. Leave space. Leaving the appropriate amount of space between each vehicle will give a truck driver enough time to react. A fully loaded tractor-trailer traveling at 65 miles an hour needs about 5 seconds of space to stop. Drivers will have to increase the space between the cars while driving in dangerous weather conditions. Maintain your vehicle. Having your vehicle routinely checked will make driving in the rain more safe. Frequently check your truck's tires to make sure they have enough tread. Also, check your windshield wipers to see if they're working properly. Avoid standing water. Driving through standing water increases the chance of hydroplaning. Hydroplaning causes a driver to lose control of the truck and can result in serious injuries. Standing water also hides potholes and other debris that might be on the road. It's important to always avoid standing water while driving in the rain. Wear your seatbelt. Wearing a seatbelt is a requirement for all truckers, especially in dangerous weather conditions. Eliminate distractions. While driving in the rain, eliminate all distractions. If you drive with the radio on, turn the volume low so you can concentrate. Avoid touching your GPS or looking at it for long periods of time, and avoid using your cell phone. This blog on TNCRadio.live has been brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
Welcome back to the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.live. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kelly. We're talking with Roland Hence, who's the founder of FrontLane, which is a technology company that has several really exciting collision detection devices for both passenger and commercial vehicles. We have our driver partner, Tom Kirk, with us on the line. And Tom, you said that you had some questions for Roland about their technology.
Sure. Well, let's start off, I think, with the first question that almost any driver or any trucking company is going to want to ask. Is it DOT legal?
Great question. Absolutely one of the most critical ones too, and one of the first ones that we started focusing on. And yes, it is for a few reasons. And the reason why there are a few reasons is because, of course, how complicated some of the interactions can be between state and federal, and of course, international. And so what we did is in each tailbone unit, there are actually two different modes built in. And these are the two modes that are used nationwide by OEMs themselves in some cases, and then also aftermarket. And this is also true actually for our passenger vehicle version. So this pulsing light, it is essentially a activation that happens when there is a danger or a hazard. And so from the federal standpoint, this is completely legal to add on aftermarket. It's completely DOT compliant. And for any folks that are interested, we'd love to chat more about it and send over some of those specific materials we have so we can look at the DOT compliance numbers. Then separately, it also has steady mode, which is a way to get more attention without the pulsing. It gets a ton of attention, especially because you got ultra bright lights coming on in locations on the vehicle that normally you wouldn't see any light. And that makes the driver behind react faster. And this is actually something that Volvo uses and BMW on their passenger vehicles in the US nationwide. So this is an opportunity to put it on trailers, since trailer lighting in the US has been in many ways stagnant for a while. This stick-on nature of this technology and also its smart ability to adapt and predict when someone's not paying attention is really what has set it apart so far.
Did you have another question, Tom?
I do, and it works even better when I take myself off of mute, because coincidentally today I'm in Tennessee, and we're dealing with an accident up ahead. So the CB radio is going off with updates. So I've been muting my phone here, and wishing at times that I had one of those devices myself as I watch some of the people driving around me. Has the insurance company started coming to you and saying, for like the semi-trucks, just saying, hey, this is a great idea. We may be interested in encouraging some of our customers or fleets to get this. Have you heard anything from the insurance agencies or the Insurance Institute or anything of that nature yet?
The timing of that question is incredible, because we have just started the outreach to insurance companies. Essentially, this is a technology that's designed to reduce these crashes. That means that insurance companies will see a savings from this, and there's so much proven technology behind it. So we want to have these conversations with insurance companies, because at the end of the day, we want this technology on the road. So we want fewer crashes. We want to see this on trailers nationwide. And that means that insurance will ideally go down for so many folks, especially when you see how much these types of collisions cost these insurance companies and claims. It's truly incredible. So for anyone who's listening and has an insurance company in particular that they'd like us to talk to, we'd love to have that conversation, find out what the opportunity is to reduce insurance, and see if we can create a partnership. Because at the end of the day, it's going to take a team to be able to reduce the crashes out there. And I think this is a great first step. And yeah, such a timely question.
I know when I started looking at your website, I'm going, okay, this actually looks like one of the few pieces of technology I've seen that's being pitched to drivers into trucking that actually makes some sense. You know, it isn't an expensive or complicated install. It actually works. And the thing that jumped out to me is this is not messing with my braking system or anything of that nature. This is to me what a true collision mitigation system is. It alerts to people that there's a problem, but it's not trying to wrest the control away from the driver, especially if it turns out to be a false alarm. So that's one of the things that grabbed out to me. In terms of reliability and durability, with some of this bad weather we've been having lately, extreme cold temperatures in parts of the country, lots of rain, snow, ice, etc., how durable is this? Is this something I'm going to have to worry, like some products you hear out there that, oh, hey, I got it. It worked great. And then after 6 months, it broke as soon as, it got cold and some water got in and it froze.
Well, that is a very pertinent question for this type of technology, because of how well it needs to be able to withstand these different environments. And so we've done a variety of testing. In some cases, when we talk about changes in altitude, changes in temperature, condensation, we've incorporated all these features into the product, the goal being that this is going to be resilience through the lifetime of the unit. It's got an incredible clear coat that prevents all sorts of impact, damage, debris. But at the same time, we want people to have as much trust in the product as absolutely possible. And so we've got a 3-year warranty that comes with it. So that's to address the 6-month question. And simultaneously, if folks find a problem with it anywhere, we want to know exactly where that is. We might go out to that route ourselves and see what went wrong. First of all, everything under warranty, we'll replace it. Right now, we're at the stage, especially as a small company, that we really want to work with people to understand how we can make this product for you on the road. What is it that you need? What is it that's helpful? What is it that's not helpful? And Tom, going back to your earlier comment about how so much technology seems to be wrestling away control from the drivers, it's incredible to see how common that is, yet all these companies keep making that technology as if it's not obvious that it's not welcome in so many cases. And I think that's one of the issues. So my background is as an engineer, and I think a lot of engineers have that challenge where we design all this technology for a table or a lab bench, but then when we go out into the field, find out that you designed it so it works better on a lab bench than it does on a truck or for a driver. And so the question is, how do we build this for somebody so it's really what they need? And that's why I also love being on a show like this, where we can chat openly about what the technology is that we're working on. And so I can get honest feedback, because we're going to use every piece of criticism to make an improvement. And I'd love to be able to get this unit out to as many drivers as possible so they can give as much feedback as possible. Because at the end of the day, this is going to be a product that is going to last a very long time. We want this to be one of the most resilient parts of a vehicle, but also work for drivers in a way that this will protect you without you even needing to notice it's there.
Excellent. Did you have another
And I think
question?
I think he just actually made way for a great follow-up question. So how do I know that it's working? Because, with a lot of devices, particularly if they're battery operated and it's on the back of my trailer, how do I know if the battery's dead? How do I know if it stopped working? How do I know it's doing what it's supposed to back there?
It's funny, because that is also a perfect question, one that we've gotten now a couple of times. So we went to the North American Fleet Association trade show at the end of August, then went to Tank Truck Week not that long ago in Dallas in October. And that was one of the main questions that we were getting. Folks interested in the technology, but the question is, can they pull the data off? Can they get that feedback? And so what we're working on right now is the next generation of this technology, where it's going to do more to predict when you're going to be rear-ended. And so it doesn't even need to wait for figuring out if you're braking hard or braking dangerously. It actually starts to focus on the driver behind and say, wait a minute, let's see if they're coming at you too fast. And so that's the next generation of the technology, and that's where we're also going to be able to pull the data off of the unit. So for folks that are getting this product now, it's also an excellent opportunity where ideally we work together and form a partnership, rather than the idea of, hey, this is a sale, you buy it, that's yours. We want to work together. So if there's something missing, like somebody wondering, hey, how many times does it activate? Well, that's a solution we can make specifically for a driver, because that's the level of care that we have right now for each individual owner operator that's out there, every individual driver that's out there, every small fleet that's out there. And at the end of the day, the new updates for the technology will mean you'll get not just a little bit of data off of the unit, not just how many times it illuminates, but the goal is to actually show you the vehicle behind and show you that vehicle coming to a stop, so you can see definitively what it does for your application and see if it makes sense for your vehicle.
Very cool. What do you think, Tom?
It sounds great. I got a couple more questions, but I'm not sure how we're doing on time, Shelley.
Well, we have about a minute. I think what we could do is go to break so that you can have the proper train of thought and not be interrupted there, Tom. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.LIVE, and we're talking with Roland Hence. He's the founder of FrontLane, which is a technology company that has several collision mitigation devices for both passenger and commercial vehicles. Pretty exciting stuff. So stay tuned right here on TNCRadio.LIVE.
This blog on TNCRadio.LIVE is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. Common mental health issues truck drivers face. Every day the roads are full of heavy-duty trucks. Trucks are responsible for nearly 80% of America's freight. Being a truck driver is not an easy job, and it's not for everyone. Trucking can be hard on an individual, both physically and mentally. Suffering from mental health can put truck drivers in a dangerous situation. To safely operate a heavy-duty vehicle, drivers need to be physically and mentally healthy. Here are 4 common mental health issues that truck drivers face. Why mental health issues are common in truck drivers. Truck driving is a demanding job and can be very stressful at times. A stressful work environment leads to anxiety and depression. In addition to a stressful work environment, truck drivers spend a lot of time alone in their truck. Constantly being alone can affect one's mental health. Although many truck drivers suffer from mental health issues, some are afraid to get help because they fear losing their job. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, that's FMCSA, requires drivers to be in good health before receiving or renewing a commercial driver's license. The trucking industry is predominantly male. A study by RAHM states that men are less likely to get treatment for their mental health than women. It's important for drivers to take care of their mental health as much as their physical health. Common mental health issues in truck drivers. Depression. Depression is an illness that affects you mentally, physically, and emotionally. It's very common in the trucking industry. Being alone and away from friends and family contributes to depression. It's important to know the difference between feeling down and having depression. If you feel that you're experiencing depression, seek out help. Depression is serious and can affect your ability to operate your truck. Anxiety. Because of how stressful trucking can be, anxiety is very common for drivers. This is especially true for new drivers. Many experienced drivers have reported having anxiety and panic attacks while on the road. It's important to know the difference between new driver anxiety and generalized anxiety. If you're often experiencing anxiety while working, take the necessary steps to get help. Chronic sleep disturbances. A good night's rest is crucial to truck drivers. Not having enough sleep can make it dangerous to operate a heavy-duty vehicle. Because of a truck driver's living and work situation, good sleep can be difficult. A NCBI study reports that 20 to 28.6% of truck drivers have an unspecified sleep disorder, and 27.5% of truck drivers are diagnosed with insomnia. Sleep is extremely important for your mental and physical health. If you're experiencing problems sleeping while trucking, consider seeking professional help. Loneliness. Truck drivers spend many days and weeks isolated in their truck. According to Business Insider, nearly a third of drivers say being alone is a significant issue affecting their mental health. This blog on TNCRadio.LIVE has been brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
Hello, everybody. This is Todd Dewey from the hit show Ice Road Truckers on the History Channel. And my source of radio and all truckers news, I go to TNCRadio.LIVE.
This is the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.LIVE. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kelly and Tom Kirk. We're talking with Roland Hence, the founder of FrontLane, which is a technology company that has several collision mitigation devices for passenger as well as commercial vehicles. Tom Kirk, you said you had more questions for Roland in the last segment, so I thought I'd throw it to you.
Yeah, well, let's kind of back up just for a second, Roland. You gave a great answer as to some of the capabilities you're working on and wanted to have, but let's be clear. You know, I'm a driver. I want to know it's working. If the battery's dead or getting weak or going dead, how can I find out about it? Because, you know, obviously, if no one hits me, I know it's working. But if it hits me, I probably should have changed the battery earlier that day.
That is a great question. And so we've got a couple different angles that we're going about solving that challenge. One is simply a low battery indicator, kind of like a smoke detector, except instead of an audible beep, it is a light that flashes a small indicator on the unit. So what it does is if you install it to, let's say, trailer doors, when you open and close the door, if the battery's low, that little indicator will flash a few times to let you know that there's about 6 months left of battery life. That means you're going to have a little bit of time to go ahead and replace that battery, and it's just a single battery. You just pull it out, replace it, water sealed, and it's good to go. So that creates a little bit of a, go ahead.
Wait, you said it warns you 6 months in advance? Dang, I wish more technology did that.
Yeah, like the water filter in my fridge. That'd be great.
So, yeah, that would, our goal is really to make it as low maintenance as possible. So that way folks can focus on other challenges. And going back to the initial concept for me, I love road tripping. I love being on the road and seeing what's in front of me and just driving. And so being able to make everything else kind of fade away, that's where I really want to be. And so when I saw that, how complicated maintenance can be for certain systems, how difficult installation could be, adding this technology to the device, that way it could be installed so easily and then also maintained so easily is the goal. So that means that the battery life is 4 years in most cases, simply from the concept that we're activating when you need this technology the most.
Excellent. And it's pretty easy to...
I'm impressed.
So it's pretty easy to change out the battery?
You got it, yep. Mm-hmm. So really anyone can install it. It could be a professional, could be just somebody who is familiar with a vehicle at all, but all you do is stick it on, but it's about as difficult as it is to put on one of those hanging tags that sticks to your wall, one of those 3M strips. So once you have that, but it's very, very strong, you're good to go. And then the other way we're figuring out how we can convey that it's working is just to show the drivers directly. So this is something that we're working on now, and this will be an update that comes out in the future, but you'll be able to actually access the dashboard to see when the driver behind you was going to rear end you and see the product activate. So that way you get a real sense of what's happening to the back of the vehicle, but you can all put it on the back burner. So that way you can focus on what you need to do. But ideally this technology is working actively, but to the rear.
And the last question that I've got is, you're throwing, you've kind of hinted at some stuff you would like it to do. So, you hear about all these collision mitigation systems, which tell you if you're approaching a vehicle too quick and it'll do whatever it does. Is there a way that maybe this is going to sense when a vehicle's coming too fast at you and flash or alert the driver to, hopefully get their attention, before they hit you, and maybe like a dash camera feature that can prove that they're the one that hit you, particularly if you're stopped in traffic and didn't roll back and hit them and things of that nature. Is there going to be a way, is that some stuff that's on the drawing board?
You hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what we're working on right now, and that's what the next generation version has in store. And it came out from conversations just like this. We're talking about what the features are on the product right now, and folks are saying, hey, what if it also did this? What if it did that? And as it comes together, it forms a complete picture where we've got this technology tailbone, you stick it to the back of the trailer right now, you get that safety. But we're also looking to improve that technology all the time. So that way, people that work with us as customers or partners, it really is the same thing at the end of the day. Partnerships where, hey, we want you to get from A to B safely without incident, and to make this technology as affordable as possible, to bring down insurance rates. And so being able to look to the rear, have that dash cam there, see when the following vehicle is going to rear end you, stop them, and then use a lot of smart technology in the background to be able to predict when that happens. The goal is it's as simple as driving, and then we'll work in the background to keep the folks behind you off you.
Excellent.
Phenomenal. Believe it or not, Shelley, that's my last question for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Really?
Roland, how do you compare with the competition? Is there anything else out there like your product? I'm not finding anything, but I thought I'd ask you.
When we were at Tank Truck Week, somebody came up to us who had been there for many years, seen all the technology, and they said, this is the coolest thing here. And that's what we've run into a number of times. This technology just simply does not exist. There are bits and pieces, as Tom Kirk was mentioning, to the front where you have forward collision warnings and these devices. Although for a lot of people that can be very intrusive, because if you want the system to be adding automatic emergency braking, taking control of the vehicle, that can be a very contentious topic. But for this, it's that same type of technology, but looking to the rear. So it's not creating the sort of riff of, hey, we should drive differently or give half of the control over to the computer. That's not what we're about, because we think that challenge is a lot more complicated than a lot of the engineers have made it seem thus far. So on our team, we have a number of actually self-driving engineers who left companies that do technology just like that and said, hey, there's a way to make this so it works better for the drivers themselves. And so we take that technology, we put it to the rear, so that way it gets the attention of the driver behind, the person who's not paying attention, the person that's going to hit you and that it's very difficult to do anything else about. So the idea is, so much technology looks to the front 180 degrees of the vehicle. We're looking to the back 180 degrees of the vehicle. And yeah, Shelley, to your question, this is the first of its kind.
Excellent. Wow. And it's just amazing it's taken this long. And when you think about it, you have the least control about the guy behind you when you're driving your vehicle. So this is terrific.
That is so true.
Yeah. And I think the simplicity is something that is very appealing to our commercial drivers. What do you think, Mr. Kirk?
I think it is too. I mean, it's a simple solution, and the thing is, it does help to reduce certain problems that don't exist out there. But most importantly, a lot of drivers, myself included, we don't necessarily have anything against collision mitigation systems. We might not even be opposed to automatic braking systems if they weren't known for doing so many false alarms. I mean, false alarms are going to happen for any variety of reasons. But, if it saves my life or prevents a problem, an automatic braking system is a great system. But if it causes me a problem and potentially causes an accident, particularly if somebody rear ends me because it decided to slam on my brakes, slow me down 20 miles an hour, because it decides that I'm following too close to a bridge 15 feet above my head with no cars in front of me, that's a big problem. Yep. And yes, I can give you the exact mile marker on I-81 in Pennsylvania.
So, this actually happened to you?
No one ever hit me, but so many drivers driving that particular model of truck, we can give you the exact mile marker where on a regular basis, that particular collision mitigation system would apply the brakes directly under the bridge.
Wow.
Which the engineers claim can't happen. That's a whole another conversation. But that's where I think this is a simple technology, and that's this thing is keep it simple. Drivers are we're not scared to embrace technology, but we want something that's reliable, dependable, and actually makes things better, not more complicated.
Makes sense. And I think the average person does across the board. They don't want to have to overthink it, I think that's what's really cool about your product too, Roland.
Thank you.
And I do have one quick last.
Actually, Tom, if I could turn around there, one question that I have for you is just, where do you learn about new technology?
Anywheres and everywheres. I know that may sound kind of odd, but everything from publications such as the Truckers News, the Truckers CCJ, Overdrive, some of the drivers' books on Facebook, Google Newsfeed has become my friend because it discovers I'm interested in trucking and technology, so it sends a lot of stuff that way to me.
Which is cool.
Obviously, TNCRadio.LIVE.
Yeah.
There we go.
But pretty much any and every resource that I can find, and a lot of it is talking to other drivers. Trying to get to truck shows, if not every year when they do happen, maybe every couple of years, to walk around and talk to some of the vendors and get ideas for what's there and what they're going to do. And that's really the best way that drivers get educated is they have to keep looking around and looking for new resources. But of course, TNCRadio.LIVE is the best of them all.
Amen to that. We do have to go to break here. We're talking with Roland Hence. He's the founder of FrontLane. It's a technology company that has several collision mitigation devices for both passenger and commercial vehicles. Really cool technology. We've got a couple more questions, and we got more information coming up on our next segment. Stay tuned for more right here on TNCRadio.LIVE. Finding a safe place to park your rig at night can be a challenge on the road. The Truckers Network, a membership resource site for trucking companies, company drivers, and owner-operators, proudly partners with Truck Park to offer safe and secure overnight truck parking to all Truckers Network members. Truck Park is the digital truck parking leader and America's fastest growing truck parking service. The Truckers Network exists to link truck drivers with the best quality trucking products and services the industry has to offer. Finding safe overnight parking is crucial for truck drivers, and many drivers struggle with finding available parking spots. The limited parking availability causes drivers to lose sleep, which poses a safety risk to others on the road. Safe parking is valuable for drivers and the cargo they're transporting. With this partnership, Truckers Network members will have access to a discount code and be able to reserve parking spots in real time along their truck route at a reduced price. Truck Park gives drivers access to parking locations across most of the United States. Simply enter the city and state to view available parking spaces nearest a pickup or delivery point, then pay to reserve. Parking rates vary at each location, with some rates as low as $10. Truck Park is a values-based company that empowers truck drivers while providing a safe and unmatched experience. The company offers a quick way to find and reserve parking spots throughout the U.S. Truck drivers have access to Truck Park's free mobile app to easily begin reserving parking spots based on their truck route. About the Truckers Network. The Truckers Network exists to link truckers and trucking businesses throughout the United States. The company's mission is to make the life of a truck driver easier by connecting drivers to the highest quality trucking products and services to keep their trucks on the road.
The Christmas Bill Payoff Contest on TNCRadio.LIVE is a nationwide cash contest involving multiple radio stations. For instructions on how to enter and to see the complete rules, go to www.TNCRadio.LIVE.
Welcome back to the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.LIVE. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kelly and Tom Kirk, and we're talking with Roland Hence, the founder of FrontLane, which is a technology company that has several really cool collision mitigation devices for both passenger and commercial vehicles. Mr. Kelly, you said you had a question for Roland.
Yeah, so Roland, very impressed with everything you're doing here. This is fantastic, and one of those, I call it a head thumper, where I look at it and think, why didn't I think of that?
As opposed to a tire thumper, right?
Yeah, this it just makes me smack my forehead. Really exciting. And so let me ask you about the company itself. How long have you guys been in business, and how's it going? And tell us a little bit about what's going on with the company.
Yeah, so we started about 5 years ago. So this idea came to me about 7 years ago. 5 years ago, we started working on it, built out this consumer version, and it's been received very well so far. And we actually just launched our first big e-commerce campaign, and the goal is to be able to show this product off to families. And we're actually expanding into the antique car market as well, especially since the passenger vehicle version, we've got now a new add-on where you can just simply remove it from your vehicle. So it's great for car shows. Right. So we're adapting this all across the board. We've had a number of requests for motorcycles as well. So we're trying to keep up as fast as we can and make modifications so that way the same core technology can work for each vehicle type. But right now our main focus has become these large Class 8 vehicles, heavy duty trailers, whatever it may be, where we're talking about the highest risk, the most time on the road, and often vehicles where it feels like engineers are a bit distant from the actual application, and that's where we think we can make a big difference. So as we continue to grow this consumer brand, we're also now just venturing into this commercial arm, and we've got our first product as of about 1 month ago.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. As you're getting all this put together, and this is a question I often ask people who are putting in new products like this, are you running into some of the known issues that are out there as far as the supply chain is concerned around? Because I imagine that you're using some kind of technology here that would require a computer chip of some type or whatever. Are you running into any issues that are going to make you nervous about being able to produce as many products as you might be selling?
You got it. The supply chain crisis has certainly impacted a number of startups, just like FrontLane. what we worked on is really talking to drivers early on to see what the interest and demand would be for the initial products. And so because of that, we could secure a quantity of chips early on. So that way, fortunately, we have enough to make it through. But to your point, we do have a relatively limited quantity. And that's also perfect for where we're at, because it really helps us refocus on what we need to, which is make partnerships, work with people, work with drivers, get to know drivers, understand the actual use of this product and what that feedback is. So a little bit of a blessing and a curse. A blessing in the sense that it allows us to focus on our priorities. And then, of course, the downside being, well, it's going to take time to make the units. So once we're out of stock, we're going to be out of stock maybe a little bit longer than we would otherwise be.
Sure. And where are your units being put together?
Yeah, so we've got a multifaceted supply chain. We've got some manufacturing in southern China, and everything is designed in the U.S. We've got a team that works remotely nationwide. We've got folks in Fargo, Nashville, Knoxville, San Diego, L.A., New York, Boston. So we're distributed, and a number of the units that people are getting right now are actually just fully built locally. And that way we can also service them very easily, get feedback very easily. And then for some of these production runs, a number of them are made in southern China, and that's where production units are too for folks that are just getting them now.
Right, and I guess that's part of the problem too, is now getting them from over there to over here is not as easy as it was, say, a year ago.
Yeah, certainly not. Yeah, it sounds like you've heard the drill at this point. It's pretty incredible how much supply chains have slowed down. I was out in Long Beach not that long ago, looking right past the port, and right along the beach as everyone's swimming, look in the distance, and it is just an armada of container ships waiting to bring in product. And I was looking out to see which one had ours on it.
trying to get it up there to the front of the line, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I would say that the timing of your product couldn't be better. With all of the distracted driving and everything, Roland, and I think that the convenience of the installation and all of that, you're hitting all of the pain points that drivers have. It's like, they want something, but they don't want something that's going to think for them, run their life, or be a real big pain to install.
That's fantastic. Glad to hear. And yeah, it all started with working closely with drivers from the very early days. Ultimately, drivers are the ones who said, we need this product. And working with drivers ever since then, we've got some advisors on the team who are drivers, owner-operators, and manage fleets. And we've worked with trucking associations, right now, Trucking Association of Massachusetts. But to that effect, anyone who's listening, anyone who has an idea for what we can do to improve, another technology they'd be interested in seeing, or somebody that they'd like us to get in touch with, that would all be fantastic. And to that effect, you can shoot me an email directly, which is roland@frontlane.com, and that's ROLAND, Roland@frontlane.com.
Excellent. So you're available to the drivers. This is very cool. That's a mark of a great company, because your product can only improve because you're actually talking to the end user.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to make a product that really makes a difference for folks. And so that means that we want you to try it out. And if it doesn't make sense for you, it doesn't make sense. But we're going to keep working on it until this is something that adds safety to every vehicle out there. So thanks to anyone who's given feedback before, and anyone who has a couple of tips, ideas, or an insurance company we should get in touch with, or a fleet manager, or potentially a lead if they're interested in buying themselves. All of it helps us move towards a safer road.
Roland, a technical question, if you don't mind, and I know, Shelley, we're starting to press up here on time, but and if this question's too technical, Roland, to answer right now, I understand. But okay, so right now it's using motion sensor technology to somehow know that that you're braking harder. That I guess that there's a dramatic shift in the speed of the vehicle. Is that what it's doing?
You got it. So just importantly, there are no wireless signals. There's no Bluetooth. There's no Wi-Fi. There's no syncing your headphones to your phone or your computer. Nothing like that.
So is it pointed at the ground then? It's looking at the ground and how fast it's. I'm trying to understand how the motion sensor works on something like that.
You got it. Even simpler than that, it's got an accelerometer, and so that's the motion sensor. So the way it works is essentially akin to if you're sitting in the passenger seat and you close your eyes, you can feel when the vehicle's braking. The accelerometer is a very, very sensitive version of that. It's the same type of technology that allows you to see when you turn your phone sideways and the whole screen goes sideways.
Right.
It's very, very sensitive. It doesn't even need to see the ground. And so because of that, it's easy to install in virtually any location on the back of the trailer.
Okay. Yeah, it's the same technology that makes it difficult for you to fool your step on your phone. You actually have to step instead of just standing in one place.
Yeah, you got it.
Sure. Very cool. And the simplicity is greatly appreciated in the fact that people don't have to worry about this being recorded, right? You don't feel like Big Brother's hanging over you.
Right. Yeah. All the data is just stored on the device itself. So you've got the device, you've got all of that, but the data also doesn't have anything that's personal and private about you, and it's fully secure. So because of that, you not only fully own the data, but no one else even has access to it.
That's huge. That's real important to people today, and it's becoming even more so. So that's always good to know. We have about a minute and a half. Where do people find your product again?
FrontLane.com, and from there you can click on the link to go to FrontLane.com/Tailbone. So that product is Tailbone, and at the same point there's a contact form. So if you have any ideas, suggestions, people to get in touch with, or you're interested in the product for yourself, which I love to hear, please check out FrontLane.com, scroll down and reach out, or email me directly, Roland@FrontLane.com.
And that's spelled FRONTLANE, correct?
You got it, Shelley.
Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I really like the technology. I really appreciate you being on the show. We've been talking with Roland Hence, the founder of FrontLane, a technology company that has several collision mitigation devices for passenger and commercial vehicles, tailbones for semis. This is excellent. I really appreciate your insight, the information on this product, and I think a lot of drivers are going to really, really like it a lot. You've been listening to the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.LIVE. I'm Shelley Johnson. We've been speaking with Roland Hence, and my co-hosts have been Tom Kelly and Tom Kirk today. Definitely stay tuned for more coming up on TNCRadio.LIVE.
Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. For more information regarding our podcast, reuse, copyrights, etc., please visit our website, www.tncradio.live.